You'll pay for the honeymoon. I'm bringing my best friend. It's my final test before the altar. Deal with it. That was the sentence she used, calm, confident, almost rehearsed, as if what she was asking was completely normal. I remember staring at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. She didn't laugh, she didn't soften it, she just waited for my reaction, like she'd already decided that my feelings were irrelevant. And in that exact moment, something inside me went quiet. I didn't argue, I didn't raise my voice, I didn't beg. I dealt with it, just not in the way she expected. I'm 34 years old, and at the time I was working as a project manager for a regional construction company. My life wasn't flashy, but it was stable. I had savings, a clear career path, and I believed I was building a future with the woman I loved. We had been together for 4 years, engaged for almost 1. When I proposed, she cried, said yes instantly, and told everyone she couldn't wait to be my wife. For a long time, I believed every word. In the early years, our relationship felt easy. We were genuinely happy. We planned weekends together, cooked meals side by side, and talked late into the night about everything from stupid TV shows to where we wanted to live someday. She used to tell me I made her feel safe. I used to tell her she was my best friend. Our families met, got along, and everyone kept saying how perfect we looked together. I thought I had won the relationship lottery. Wedding planning started off the same way, exciting and cooperative. We picked a venue, sent invitations, booked vendors, and even argued playfully about music choices. I was the one handling most of the payments, which I didn't mind at all. I earned more, and I saw it as an investment in our future. Every deposit I made felt like a step closer to the life we were about to share. At least, that's what The shift was slow enough that I almost didn't notice it. About 8 months before the wedding, she got a promotion at work. I was proud of her, genuinely. I took her out to dinner to celebrate, told her she deserved it, and even helped her shop for new work clothes. But along with that promotion came a new version of one that seemed constantly distracted, constantly busy, and increasingly distant from me. Her schedule changed almost overnight. Late meetings became normal. Team happy hours turned into full nights out. She started coming home glued to her phone, smiling at messages she wouldn't explain. When I asked how her day was, her answers got shorter. When I suggested spending time together, she said I was being needy. I told myself it was just stress from the new role. I wanted to be supportive, not controlling. That's when her best friend, Evan, stopped being a background name and became a constant presence. She talked about him all the time, how funny he was, how well he understood her work pressure, how easy it was to talk to him. I had met Evan before, briefly, and nothing about him screamed danger back then. But suddenly, he was everywhere, in her stories, in her plans, in her life, and I was slowly being pushed to the edges. I tried to communicate. I told her it made me uncomfortable how much time they were spending together, especially late at night. She laughed it off and said, "You're reading too much into it." When I asked why she didn't invite me along anymore, she said I wouldn't fit in with her new co-workers. That stung more than I admitted. I started to feel like an outsider in my own relationship. By the time we were 6 months away from the wedding, intimacy was almost non-existent. We slept in the same bed, but felt miles apart. Conversations turned practical and cold. Bills, schedules, logistics. There was no warmth anymore, no affection, no curiosity about each other's lives. It felt like we were coexisting rather than building something together. Eventually, we stopped pretending altogether. She began sleeping on the couch, claiming she needed better rest. I didn't fight it. Deep down, I think we both knew something was breaking. Friends started noticing the tension. Her family asked if everything was okay. She brushed them off with a smile. I stayed quiet, trying to convince myself that this was just a rough phase before marriage. The honeymoon conversation happened on a random Tuesday night, which somehow made it worse. We were sitting at the kitchen table with laptops open, reviewing flights and hotels. I was comparing prices, looking for ways to upgrade our stay without blowing the budget. She was barely paying attention, scrolling through her phone. Then, without even looking up, she said, "Oh, I should probably tell you something." I remember feeling a strange tightening in my chest as she spoke. She told me she had been thinking a lot about the transition into marriage, about losing her independence, about how big of a commitment it all felt. I listened, trying to be understanding. I even nodded along. Then she dropped it, casually, like it was a minor detail. Evan was coming on the honeymoon, with us. At first, I laughed. I genuinely thought she was joking. When she didn't react, I asked what she meant. That's when she explained her test. She said she needed one last experience of freedom before being locked into the role of a wife. She claimed Evan was safe, trustworthy, and emotionally supportive. When I asked where I fit into this plan, she finally looked at me and said, "You'll be fine. You trust me, right?" The argument escalated quickly after that. I told her it was disrespectful, humiliating, and crossed every boundary imaginable. She accused me of being insecure and controlling. She said if I truly loved her, I'd support her growth. Then she crossed her arms, leaned back in her chair, and delivered the line that still echoes in my head. "You'll pay for the honeymoon. I'm bringing my best friend. Deal with it." Something shifted inside me right then. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel hurt. I felt clear. Calm, like a switch had flipped. I realized that the woman sitting across from me wasn't my partner anymore. She was someone who had already emotionally left and was daring me to accept it. I closed my laptop, said nothing, and went to bed. But I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I didn't confront her. I didn't bring up the argument or ask her to reconsider. Instead, I started planning quietly. I went to work as usual, answered emails, attended meetings, and smiled at coworkers who had no idea my entire future had cracked open the night before. But inside, I was already detaching. I knew arguing would only give her more power. Silence, on the other hand, gave me clarity. Within days, I scheduled a consultation with a lawyer during my lunch break. I didn't even know what questions to ask at first. I just knew I needed to understand my options. I explained the situation, the wedding timeline, the payments I had made, and the shared accounts. That's when I learned something important. Nearly every major vendor contract was in my name. Venue, catering, music, even the honeymoon bookings. I also started separating finances. I opened a new account and quietly moved my personal savings. I cancelled joint credit cards. I documented every expense I had covered. At night, while she was texting Evan on the couch, I was backing up files, saving emails, and organizing receipts. I wasn't acting out of revenge. I was protecting myself. There's a difference. Then, almost by accident, the proof found me. She had left her old tablet in a drawer after upgrading her phone months earlier. I was looking for a charger when the screen lit up. Notifications popped up instantly, messages synced from her current device. I didn't want to look. I told myself to walk away, but curiosity, mixed with dread, pulled me in. What I saw erased any remaining doubt. Messages that weren't friendly, photos that weren't innocent, conversations about hotel rooms, about how careful they needed to be, about how I was too comfortable to notice. There were dates and locations that matched nights she claimed to be working late. My hands were shaking, but my mind was steady. The relationship wasn't dying. It had already been replaced. After that night, I stopped seeing her as my fiancée and started seeing her as a liability. That might sound cold, but it was the only way I could function without breaking down. Every interaction became observational. I noticed how easily she lied, how naturally she minimized my presence, how she spoke about our future while actively building a separate one with someone else. The emotional fog lifted, and what remained was clarity. I didn't confront her with the evidence. I didn't need to. Confrontation would only give her a chance to rewrite the story, to cry, to twist it into something that made me the villain. Instead, I focused on timing. The wedding was less than 6 weeks away. Family members were flying in. Money had already been spent. Expectations were high, and that's when I realized the microphone would matter. In the weeks leading up to the rehearsal dinner, she became strangely confident, almost smug. She acted like the honeymoon argument had been settled in her favor. She joked with friends about one last adventure before being tied down. She even thanked me, casually, for handling the bookings. Every time she did, it confirmed my decision. She didn't feel guilty. She felt entitled. I finalized everything quietly. I confirmed cancellation terms with vendors. I arranged refunds to route directly back to my accounts. I packed my essentials and moved them to a friend's place so I could leave without drama. I even rehearsed what I would say, not emotionally, but clearly. I wasn't interested in revenge screaming. I wanted truth, delivered calmly in a room full of witnesses. The rehearsal dinner arrived. The room was full of laughter, wine glasses clinking, people talking about the ceremony like it was inevitable. She looked happy, glowing even. Her family praised me for being such a steady presence in her life. When someone handed me the microphone for a toast, I stood up, took a breath, and felt an unexpected sense of peace. This was the moment everything changed. I started my toast the way everyone expected. I thanked both families for coming. I talked about commitment, about how marriage is built on trust, respect, and shared values. I could see her smiling at me, relaxed, convinced this was just another performance she'd already won. People nodded along. A few even wiped away tears. That's when I shifted. I said calmly and clearly that I couldn't marry someone who believed it was acceptable to bring another man on our honeymoon and call it a test. I explained that I had been told to pay for the trip, stay quiet, and deal with it. The room went dead silent. Forks stopped moving. Her smile collapsed in real time. Someone gasped. I handed the microphone back, wished everyone a good evening, and walked out. Chaos erupted behind me, but I didn't turn around. My phone started vibrating almost immediately. Calls, messages, voicemails piling up one after another. I didn't answer any of them. I got into my car, drove straight to my friend's place, and shut the door on that chapter of my life. By the time I checked my phone hours later, there were dozens of missed calls and messages ranging from rage to desperation. The next few days were brutal, but revealing. She accused me of humiliating her, of ruining everything, of overreacting. Then came the tears, the apologies, the claims that I had misunderstood her intentions. When that didn't work, she tried gaslighting, saying she never meant Evan would actually come, that it was just a test to see how much I trusted her. I didn't argue. I simply said the wedding was cancelled and it was final. Reality hit her fast. The refunds were already processed, the venue was gone, the honeymoon was cancelled, the apartment lease was ending, and I wasn't renewing it. Evan, conveniently, became less available once things stopped being exciting and started being real. For the first time since her promotion, she looked genuinely scared, not of losing me, but of losing the stability she assumed would always be there. A few months passed, and life began to settle into something unfamiliar but healthier. I focused on work, took on a new project that demanded my full attention, and started rebuilding routines that belonged only to me. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped asking mutual friends for updates. For the first time in a long while, my energy wasn't being drained by constant doubt and emotional labor. That's when I met Hannah, not through some dramatic setup, just a casual introduction by a coworker at a small gathering. She had her own scars, her own story of being betrayed, and she wasn't interested in games or power tests. We talked for hours about boundaries, expectations, and what respect actually looks like when no one is watching. There was no rush, no pressure, just honesty. Meanwhile, the fallout from my ex's choices kept unfolding. She struggled financially without my support. Office rumors followed her, quietly but persistently. The version of herself she had built around independence and entitlement started to crack when there was no one left to stabilize the consequence. Evan vanished completely once the comfort disappeared. The best friend, who was worth risking a marriage for, suddenly had better places to be. Looking back, I don't feel anger anymore. I feel grateful. Grateful that she revealed who she was before vows were exchanged. Grateful that I trusted my instincts when something felt deeply wrong. Canceling the wedding wasn't an act of cruelty. It was an act of self-respect. I didn't destroy a future. I saved myself from one that would have destroyed me. She told me to deal with it. So I did, just not the way she expected. If this story resonated with you, take it as a reminder. Tests in relationships usually reveal the tester, not the one being tested. And if you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned.